This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi. This morning we're going to discuss some key psukim in Parshas Vayakhel, as well as some key psukim in Parshas Kisisa, and we're going to try to bring out a very fundamental understanding of what is our most important day of the week, and that is Shabbos. If you look in Parshas Kisisa, and you turn to Perek Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Lamed Aleph Yud Gimel. The Torah tells us, V'yata daber o b'nei Yisrael leimar, ach es shabsoisai tishmoru, but my Shabbosos you should keep. So it says Shabbos v'loshen rabim. Es Shabbosoisai tishmoru, which is very unusual. It should say ach es Shabboisai, or ach es ha-Shabbos. Why Shabbosoisai? Why more than one? You can only keep one at a time. Yeah, don't bite off more than you could chew. You can't keep more than one Shabbos at a time. Why does it use the lashon rabim? Es Shabbosoisai. Should say ach es ha-Shabbos. Also, it says further on. It says in pasuk Yud Daled, Ushemartem es ha-Shabbos ki kodesh ilachem mechaleleha. Those who desecrate lashon rabim. It should say mechalelah with a mafik hey, mechalelah. Those who desecrate it. Why does it say mechaleleha lashon rabim? Okay, these are two problems. There's another question. We got to make up our mind. What is the gender of Shabbos? What is Shabbos? If you look in Pasuk Yud Gimel, it says ki ois hi. Shabbos is she, lashon nekeva. Pasuk Yud Daled, mechaleleha, those who desecrate her. So in Parshas Kisisa, Shabbos is lashon nekeva. And yet, if you look in this week's Parsha, Parshas Vayakhel, take a look, Perek Lamed Hey. What does the pasuk say? Sheishas yamim teyasem melacha vayem hashvi yelachem kodesh Shabbos Shabbos Hashem kol ha'oiseh vayim melacha mois yumas. You got it. Very unusual, very strange. Make up your mind. Is Shabbos nekeva or Shabbos is zachar? Parshas Kisisa ois hi mechaleleha. Parshas Vayakhel kol ha'oiseh vay. Okay. Now we come to the Gemara Masechta Shabbos on Daf Kuf Yud Ches. Look at number 1. Amar Rav Yochanan Mishum Rav Shimon ben Yochai. El Malei Mishamrin Yisrael Shtei Shabbosos Kil Chasan. If Klal Yisrael were to keep 2 Shabbosos properly, Miyad Negal we would be immediately redeemed. Shenemar Koyamar Hashem Lasarisim Asher Yishma Shabbosos. So says Hashem to His officers that keep His Shabbosos, Lashon Rabim, Uchsiv Basrei, V'havi Yosim Al Har Kodeshi, I'll bring you to my holy mountain. So the Gemara is saying that if you want the Geula to come, Klal Yisrael has to keep 2 Shabbosos. And the question is, why 2? Why is 1 not good enough? What are you doing in 2 more than you're doing in 1? Why shouldn't 1 be enough? And even more than that, this Gemara is a Beferish Stira to Mordechai ben David. Everybody knows MBD's famous maxim, just one Shabbos. Yeah? Just 1 Shabbos. All you need to do is you have to keep 1 Shabbos. What happened? So the Gemara is against MBD. But seriously, it's a medrash. It's a medrash. The medrash says, look at number 2. The medrash in Shmos Rabbah, Parsha Chafei, Amar of Levi, in Mishamrim Yisrael es ha-Shabbos kara'oi, afilu yoim echad ba ben David ba. So here the medrash is siding with MBD that all you need is just 1 Shabbos. Ben David ba. There you go. Lama, why? Shehi shkula keneged kol ha-mitzvos. Shabbos is equal to all the mitzvos. V'cheinu oimer, ki hu Elokeinu, va'anachnu am arisoi v'tzoyin yadai, hayoim today in b'kolos tishma'u. So the Medrash is saying, Shabbos is equal to all the mitzvos. So if Klal Yisrael were to keep 1 Shabbos, then we'd be redeemed. So 2 questions. Number 1, the Gemara is a contradiction to the Medrash. And number 2, why would you have to keep 2 Shabbosos? What are you doing in 2 Shabbosos more than you're doing in 1? Another interesting thing is, wait a second, Shabbos is shakel keneged kol ha-mitzvos? Since when? Since when is Shabbos shakel? We know there's only one mitzvah that's shakel keneged, right? Talmud Torah keneged kulam. Torah is equal to all the mitzvahs, right? That's why if you learn one word of Torah, it's the equivalent of all 16. But since when? Since when is Shabbos equal to all 16? 613. It's like a new chiddush in the Medrash. That the Medrash is saying Shabbos is shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs. Where does that come from? By the way, I just realized this morning, maybe this is the reason why we begin Kabbalah Shabbos with L'chun Ranina, which is Perek Tzadi Hey, because Perek Tzadi Hey brings this pasuk, Ki hu Elokeinu v'anachnu amarisai v'tzayin yadai hayoimim b'kolos Ishmael, from which we learn that Shabbos is shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs, and from which we learn if Klal Yisrael were to keep Shabbos, we would be redeemed immediately. So what better way to kick off the Shabbos than to say this pasuk that teaches us that our geula is dependent on Shmir Shabbos, and our observance of mitzvahs, all 613 are equal to Shmir Shabbos. Okay, so that is question number 6. Okay, you wouldn't believe it. We already have 6 questions on the table. Okay, another question, number 3. Look in the Medrash, Bereshis Rabbah, Parsha Chaf Beis, Oisid Gimel. Paga Adam Arishon. So Adam Arishon meets a man by the name of Cain. And he says, Cain, I know, you killed your brother, you had a court case. No, what did the jury paskin? What was the outcome of your case? Amar loy, asisi tshuva, v'nis basharti. He says, Adam, you should know, I did tshuva, and the judge accepted my attempt. The judge compromised with me. Adam Arishon said, really? You did tshuva? Hizchel Adam Arishon metapeach al panav. Adam Arishon smacks himself on the face. Amar kachi koichas shel tshuva. This is the power of tshuva. V'ani lo yisir. I didn't realize. Cain, it's unbelievable what you're teaching me. You're telling me you did tshuva and Hashem let you off the hook? So what does Adam Arishon say? Now, if you were Adam Arishon and you just learned that by doing tshuva you could save your skin, what would you sing? Maybe you would sing, Avram Fried, Ki HaMitzvah Hazois, right? Maybe you would sing some tshuva songs, Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah, Ma'avir Nesrei Gzeira. What would you sing if you just found out that if you do tshuva, Hashem will save you? Look what the Medrash says. Miyad Amar Adam Arishon v'Amar Mizmor Shiur L'Yom HaShabbos. What is Adam Arishon singing? Cain didn't say, I kept Shabbos and Hashem left me off the hook. Cain didn't say, I ate cholent and Hashem let me off the hook. Cain said, I did tshuva and Hashem let me off the hook. So what's Adam Arishon saying? Mizmor Shiur L'Yom HaShabbos. Nobody said anything about Shabbos over here. What is Cain didn't do tshuva dafka on Shabbos? Why is Adam Arishon so impressed with Shabbos? Nobody said anything about Shabbos. Maybe he should say Kapitel Nun Aleph of Tehillim, the Kapitel of David HaMelech doing tshuva, right? Kasher ba ba'ashava, right? When he comes to Nasan HaNavi, and David HaMelech says, Leiv tahar brali Elokim. But what's he saying? Mizmor Shiur L'Yom HaShabbos. What does it have to do with anything? Okay. Then also another important pasuk. Turn back to Kisisa. And the pasuk says, the Shamru, the Nei Yisrael es HaShabbos, la'asois es HaShabbos. To make the Shabbos. What do you mean to make the Shabbos? You don't make anything. What do you mean to make the Shabbos? What are you supposed to make? Cholent? Cut your nails on Shabbos?
No, it means not on Shabbos. It means to completion.
What do you have to complete? Shabbos is kavi v'kaimai. Yom Tif is created by Klal Yisrael. Yom Tif is Mekadesh Yisrael Hazmanim. Yeah, but here it's talking to us, and it's not saying about the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's saying we need to make the Shabbos. What do we do to make the Shabbos? We refrain from malacha. We don't do work. But what asiyah is there on Shabbos? Shabbos is refrain from work. Make kiddush doesn't say lekadesh. In my chumash it says la'asais. Doesn't again? I'm not talking about the pasuk lekadesh. I'm talking about the pasuk la'asais. What's la'asais? What do you do? What are you supposed to do? We already know you make kiddush. It says zachar sema Shabbos lekadshai.
That's what they're not doing.
See, that's what I mean. It says to do, and you're reading it don't do. In my chumash it says la'asais.
Do not to do.
We prepared before Shabbos started.
Everything's ready. When it comes to Shabbos, everything you beinecha, hakol, everything is completed. What are you supposed to make on Shabbos?
Make it special.
You don't make appeals on Shabbos.
So the park, make it special, make it higher.
Make it higher. What does it mean? Last Shabbos. Don't worry, you only said it about 1,000 times in your life so far. What are you supposed to do? Kiddush already says Zachas Yom Shabbos Lekadshai. What do you do on Shabbos? He's not supposed to do anything.
You have to learn Torah.
That's what you don't do.
What? Then we have Es Shabsoisai. Look in Pasuk Yud Gimel. V'ata daber al b'nei Yisrael le'emar. Aches Shabbos soisai, what we started with. Lashon Rabim. Ki ois hi Lashon Yachid. So now Shabbos is having a major identity crisis. In Parshas, Ki Sisa, everything is Lashon Nekeva. In Parshas, Vayakhel, everything is Lashon Zachar. And now, even in Ki Sisa, Shabbos doesn't know if he's two personalities or one personality. First it's Es Shabbos Soisai, 2, and then Ki ois hi, 1. What's going on with Shabbos? Okay, so we're going to discover something that we're familiar with, but something we don't realize to what level. The Yalkut Shmoni tells us in Tehillim, look at number 4, Tehillim, Ois Remez, Taf Pechas, Rabbi Yitzchak Amar, Zeh Yom HaShabbos, Shenemar Zachas Yom HaShabbos Lekadshai. Ketzad, Adam Oisa Malacha Kol Shisha. Person works 6 days, V'nach b'shvi, and he rests on Shabbos. Misratzem b'anavim b'nei beisai, and he enjoys his family. V'yafal pikein, nevertheless, sha'atam oisem malacha kol shisha. Even though you say, look, I work hard for 6 days, I stay up late, I get up early, I sweat. Nevertheless, Yom Shabbos yase kuloi Torah. The day of Shabbos should be entirely Torah. Mikan Amru, from here we learn, Yashkim Adam, even though you say, oh, Shabbos, yeah, you get up later on Shabbos, right? No. Yashkim Adam, you wake up early, B'yam Shabbos. V'yelech lebeis HaKnesses, you go to shul, lebeis HaMedrash. V'yikra b'Torah, v'yishna b'Neviim. Right, this year is brought to you by the Hashkama Minyan, yeah? V'yikra b'Torah, v'yishna b'Neviim, you read the Chumash, you read the Neviim. V'yachar kach yelech lebeisai, then you go home. V'yoichal v'yishta, and then you eat and drink. In other words, what the Medrash is saying, that a chief purpose, or perhaps the chief purpose of Shabbos, is to be able to learn. Plain and Parsha. To have time, to have opportunity, to have peace of mind, to learn. That's the main purpose of Shabbos. That's what the Medrash says. So you say, okay, it's a Medrash. There are a lot of Midrashim out there, right? Well, I'm going to bring you a pasuk in Chumash. In Parshas Vayakhel, it says about Shabbos. If you take a look in your Chumashim, Vayakhel is second Parsha in Devarim. It says in the Aseres HaDibros, the 10 Commandments. It says Shomer Osiyam HaShabbos Lekadeshai, and then it ends off Al Kein Sivcha Hashem Lekecha La'asois Es Yom HaShabbos. So now Shabbos is introduced. Keep Shabbos Kasher Tzivcha, like you were commanded. Where were we commanded? This is the first time we're commanded. So you say Luchos Rishonos. Yeah, but Luchos Rishonos and Shniyos, it's B'dibur Echad. Says the Svarno, listen to this. I'm giving you Shabbos now the way I commanded you the first time. Where was Shabbos given the first time? In Mara. And in Mara it says like this: Sham Sam Lo Chayku Mishpat V'Sham Nisahu. And then it says, take a look, if you turn to Parshas B'Shalach, where Hashem gave us the mitzvah of Shabbos the first time, it says Sham Samai in Parak Tes Vav Pasuk Chaf Vav Vayoymerim Shamaya Tishma L'Koil Hashem L'Kecha Vayoshe Bein Avtasa V'Azantu L'Mitzvoisav V'Shamarta Kol Chukav. So it says, keep Shabbos and do what's right in the eyes of Hashem. So says the Svarno, number 5, I'm telling you to keep Shabbos the same way I gave you Shabbos at Mara. Kiyamnam, however, Shabbos, when I commanded you about Shabbos in Mara, Hashem told us, even if you know the Mishnah Berurah inside out, and you're careful not to take out your watermelon seeds, and not to remove the fish bones, and you know how to pick out socks from your drawer, and you know how to take out a suit from your closet. You know all of Hilchos Boyer, yeah, and you know whether you don't brush your teeth with a brush, right? You know all the halachos, right? You know how to keep from the moment you get up. Nevertheless, it's not enough. You still didn't keep Shabbos, even if you did not violate one malacha. Why? Avo shetasek boy b'Torah u'v'mitzvahs. The purpose of Shabbos. Okay, now that you're not taking out your watermelon seeds, you're not taking out your fish bones. Now what? Now, so you're going to sit around the table for hours eating garinim the whole afternoon? Okay, you already sang every curry bun you know. Now what? Now what? You're just going to sit around schmoozing? That's what Shabbos is? Yeah, I'm a shomer Shabbos. No, you didn't keep Shabbos. What do you mean? I didn't violate any malacha. So the Svarno is saying the purpose of Shabbos is to be able to have extra time for Limanat Torah. Okay, so let's develop this further. Everybody knows, you say, what do you mean? But we know you're supposed to eat 3 meals on Shabbos. Obviously, there's more eating involved on Shabbos than during the week. So the Avudraham says, very interesting, this is also, this is brought to you by the Diet Society of America. What's the union of Shalosh Seudos on Shabbos? Why do we have a mitzvah to eat 3 meals? Say, because I have a neshama yisir, so I can eat more. Says Avudraham, no, just the opposite. If you know by lunchtime that you're going to have to wash and bench for Shalosh Seudos, you're not going to be able to pack it in as much. Because you know that, how am I going to pack it in? Then I'm not going to be Yotze Shalosh Seudos. So by being Koveya Shalosh Seudos, Chazal are sort of insinuating, watch out, don't eat too much by lunch. This way you leave room for Shalosh Seudos. What? That's a chiddush. I never heard that before. You're telling me on Shabbos you're supposed to eat less? That's what he says. That's the purpose of Shalosh Seudos. Now, why are you supposed to eat less? Because if you eat more, you're going to conk out. And you're going to waste away the whole day. So this way, everybody knows you have to save room for Shalosh Seudos. And this way you'll eat less. And you'll be able to stay up more. Sorry to burst your bubble, right? But this is a new mitzvah. This is a new Shabbos, right? The new Shabbos. Says the Avudraham, Rav David Avudraham, one of the great Rishonim, he writes, Kasav Harav Rav Moshe Kohen, Shezeh Shechivu Ilechol Shalosh Seudos b'Shabbos. What's the inyan? What's the reason of eating 3 meals on Shabbos? Mevnei sheha'oichel achila gasa. Someone who eats a big meal. Everybody knows that after a big meal, so what are you? You're like dragging yourself around. You can barely keep your eyes open, right? You know how it is after a big cholent. It's like eating melatonin, right? You're out cold. So says the Avudraham, no. If somebody eats achila gatsa, yistarich laharchik zmanu achila shachra. If you eat a big meal, you can't eat until Yom Tif, right? Sometimes Yom Tif, you come home at night, you're not even hungry. You're still not hungry. You ate 12 o'clock, you're so full you can't even eat at nighttime. So says the Avudraham, if you eat achila gasa, everybody knows you're going to have to push off the next meal. When you know you have to eat 3 meals on Shabbos, you're not going to eat excessively at any of the sudas. Only enough that you'll still have room by the next suda. It will come out, all of your achila will be l'shem mitzvah. And to satisfy your soul. And your heart will be unoccupied. Your heart will be free. Your heart will be untethered to your food to be able to learn. And it will come out, you'll conquer your Yetzer by removing the food while you're still hungry. In other words, you're about to have another spoonful and you say, I can't have another spoonful. How am I going to eat Shalosh Seudos? So you refrain. This way you're able to, instead of sleeping 7 hours Shabbos afternoon, you'll sleep 5 hours, right? You won't sleep so much. Just joking, right? By the way, the Lakewood Rosh Hashiva, when he came for Shabbos, so he insisted at night that the lights remain on the whole night. Now we're not talking about during the day. That's how he does not turn off the light at night. Any night, but even Friday night. Why? Sleep is sleep is overrated. In case he needs to get up in the middle of the night. But that's what the Avodah is saying. That contrary to popular opinion, that Shabbos, you have a big meal Friday night, and you eat just enough so that the moment the meal is over, you're out until the morning, and then you come home, and then you eat again, and then you're out until mincha. No, contrary to popular opinion, there are 3 sudas on Shabbos, so that you don't eat too excessively at any of them, so that your mind and your heart is able to learn more than during the week. Kiddush Rabbah, it's Lashon Saginar. Kiddush Rabbah, it's only Drabanan, so like a blind man, we say he's Saginar, he has a lot of light, meaning he can't see, he's blind like a bat, but we don't like to say that, so Kiddush Rabbah means you only eat a little bit. Yeah, okay. Rabbeinu Bechai writes, yeah, that's what the Rishonim say though. The Ran says, Kiddush Rabbah is Lashon Saginar, right? Okay, says Rabbeinu Bechai. Rabbeinu Bechai says, what does it mean, Zachar Siyam HaShabbos L'Kadashai, to sanctify it? Look at number 7. Says Rabbeinu Bechai, Shenazger Kedushasai Sheyeh Ve'inenu Kadosh, that Shabbos in our eyes should be holy. V'shenifneh machshavaseinu bai meyiskei haguf, to be able to divert your thoughts away from your body. V'shenasaik bai b'darchei Hashem Yisbarach shu esek hanefesh. Says Rabbeinu Bechai, what should you do on Shabbos? On Shabbos, you have to find a chacham. Yeah, but he lives far away from me, so walk there. That's why God gave you feet. Walk there. Yeah, but it's too far. That's what Shabbos is. That's why you have extra time on Shabbos. Says Rabbeinu Bechai, how do I know that? Because we find in the Navi, right, by the Isha Hashunamis, the husband said, why are you going to Elisha? Today's not Shabbos. Today's not Rosh Chodesh. So what do we see? That on Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, you got to go to the Chacham. That's the job of the day. Says Rabbeinu Bechai, there's a pasuk in Tehillim, Parak Kuf Yotes, Ma Ahafti Tarasecha Kol Hayoim Hisichasi, right? You know that song? Ma Ahafti Tarasecha, right? You know that? Ma Ahafti Tarasecha Kol Hayoim Hisichasi. How much I love the Torah. Kol Hayoim. All of that day, that's what I talk about. Ask Rabbeinu Bechai, what do you mean Kol Hayoim? Should say Kol Yoim. Every day I learn Torah. What's Hayoim? The answer is no, not every day. Every day, whatever, I have things to do. I have to go to work, I have to take care of stuff. Kol Yoim, it's not Hisichasi. But Kol Hayoim on Shabbos, that's it. That's the main occupation on Shabbos. Kol Hayoim Hisichasi. Okay. Says the Torah. Torah writes like this. We know on Shabbos it's hard to get Meah brachos, so it's proper to have fruits and all kinds of treats on Shabbos to be mashlim the 100 brachos, right? Because we know the Shemona Esrei, instead of 18 brachos, 19 brachos, it's only 7. And says the Torah, what if I sleep every day, or what if I want to take a nap? Says the Torah, good, enjoy. If you're used to taking a nap, al yavatla, don't stop it. Ki yoynei kulai. You enjoy it. Vayakhel Hashena. But when you get up, koivin medrash. You have to establish yourself to go learn. K'deisa b'medrash. Amro Torah l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ribbon Shalom. When Klal Yisrael is in the midbar, I understand they're in a self-enclosed bubble, and they're sitting here in the Koilel for 40 years. But when they go to Eretz Yisrael, they're going to start working. They're going to work the land. They're going to work their vineyards. They're going to work their fields. What's going to be with me? Ma tehei olai. So everybody knows the famous comment of the Medrash. Hashem says, I have a shidduch for you. And your shidduch is Klal Yisrael. Yesh li zug shani mezavig lecha v'Shabbos shemai. And on Shabbos, the Torah, in other words, Shabbos and Torah are a zivug. Right? We like to talk about Shadchanim. So the best shidduch is Shabbos and Torah. That's the best shidduch. So says the Torah, well, on Shabbos, when people are unoccupied, says the Torah tzarach sheyikvu medrash lohidia la'ames chukei elikim etzayroisa. In the afternoon, you must establish base medrash, and in the Shabbos afternoon, it's a halacha. You can't sit around munching on peanuts. You can't sit around treating and noshing. There's a halacha. Shabbos afternoon, it is not permitted to establish a suda. in the morning after the davening, later on after mincha. Asur lekvaya suda bisman beis hamedrash k'de isa begitin. And says the medrash, Amar Rabba bahani tlas mili nachti balabatim v'nechsayu. The Gemara says in Gittin, there are three things that could cause a person's finances to go down, and one of them is the kvi sudasa b'shabasa be'idan be'emin rasha, those who establish suda at the time of the Shiur Shabbos afternoon. Okay, so I'll tell you a little story that the Dubna Maggid says on this week's Parsha. Yeah, there was once a guy, and he was living in the city, and he was making a decent living, but he was middle class, and then finally he really struck it big. So he decided to move out to the island, right? One of the towns, and he decided to build himself a nice big house. And he's there, he's enjoying himself. He could pay the property tax, no problem. The thing is, he misses the chevra and the tuition, but he misses the old chevra. You know, he never really until this point in time. He eked out a living, and he was friends with some of the people who really couldn't make it, and he was just dying to see some of his old chevra. And then one day, some schnar knocks on the door, and he remembered the schnar from his old place. He says, "Come in, come in. I'm so happy to see you. Tell me what's going on. Sit down." The schnar says, "I don't have time for small talk. I have to make a living. Give me the donation, and I'm out of here." So he said, No, we have to talk. We have to schmooze. Please, just sit down." The ani says, "I don't have time for this nonsense." So the Oisher says, "Look, how much money do you expect to make today?" He says, "On a typical day, I make about $80 collecting." So the Oisher says, "Look, here's $95, and you sit down and let's schmooze. I'll pay you off." So the ani sits down in this big recliner. He pulls the lever up. He puts his feet up, and all of a sudden, he starts talking, and within minutes, his eyes are shutting, and he falls asleep. He's out cold. The Oisha said, "I didn't give you $95 that you should go to sleep. I wanted to talk. I want to hear what's going on with the chevra. I'm only paying you to talk to me. But if you're not going to talk to me, get out of here. Go collect." Says the Dubna Maggid, every person, you have to pay the bills. You got to go to work. You have to do ishtalos. Money doesn't come in through the window. So what's Pshat and Shabbos? How come we don't work on Shabbos? Hashem says, "Do me a favor. I need to talk to you. I miss you. Until you came down to this world, your neshama was together with me. Tachas kisei hakavod. So I miss you. I want to talk to you. Let's schmooze. Let's talk about old times." We say, I don't have time to talk. I got to pay the bills. Rebbe says, "Don't worry. Friday I pay you double, and this way you come and you sit and you talk to me on Shabbos." So what happens? We say, "No problem. Give me the check." And on Shabbos, we lie back on a recliner and we go to sleep. Hashem says, "I didn't give you the check, so you should go to sleep. I gave you the money, so you should talk to me. But if you're not going to talk to me, I want my money back." So again, we see this idea that the purpose of Shabbos is not, Shabbos stands for Shena b'Shabbos Tainug. But how much? Okay, so now let's develop this one step further. This week's Parsha, there's a sefer on Chumash called the Akedas Yitzchak, written by Rabbi Yitzchak Arama. He was born in Spain in the year 1420, passed away in Italy 1494. And, by the way, the Chida writes that virtually all succeeding works are based on the drashas of the Akedas Yitzchak, Rabbi Yitzchak Arama. And he tries to reestablish the ancient custom that in the tefillos of Shabbos, we should not say Es Yom HaShabbos Hazeh, but rather the ancient custom was to say on Shabbos Es Yom HaMenucha. Says the Akedas Yitzchak, Ulefi Sheha'ikar She'akol Tolei Bai Hu Inyan HaMenucha. Since what Shabbos is not just not doing work, but a degree of menucha, Tziva Asher Lezichroina, that on its account, Tziva HaNoifesh V'Hamargaya, the Torah warns us and the Torah commands us to rest. K'may shamarnu, hikbidu Anshe Knesses Hagdoila, Anshe Knesses HaMakbid, V'chol Chazar Shema Elam B'chol Tfilos L'farish V'loimer, Es Yoim HaMonoyach Hazeh. The ancient custom was, we do not say Yom HaShabbos, but you say Yom HaMonoyach. What's wrong with saying Yom HaShabbos? What's wrong with saying Yom HaShabbos? Because Shabbos means not doing work and menucha. And since the ikar is menucha, therefore it's better to say Yom HaMenucha. That is the opinion of the Akedas Yitzchak. Now we know nobody ever heard of this nusach, right? Nobody ever even saw a siddur that says Yom HaMenucha. So what's the inyan? What's the meaning of what we say Yom HaShabbos? Okay? So here we come to the major offering today. And this is the explanation of the Sefer Haksav HaKabbalah. Haksav HaKabbalah. Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi Mecklenburg was a Talmud of the Vilna Gaon. He lived from 1785 to 1865. He was the Rav of Königsberg. He was one of the main opponents of the Maskilim, and he devoted his work to explaining that without the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the Torah Shebachsav is a Sefer Chasam, is incomprehensible completely. And he writes in his Hakdama that a Jew must recognize the absolute unity and confluence of the Torah Shebachsav and the Torah Sheba'al Peh. So Rabbi said, I want you to take a look at this piece. He writes in a very literary style, but this is really so important to understand. And that is just the plain and simple meaning of the word Shabbos. What does Shabbos mean?
Rest.
Right? That's what I would have said rest. Shabbos, rest. But, says the Haksav HaKabbalah, listen to the following. Look at number 11. This he writes this in 3 places. Parshas Yisroi, and in Parshas Kisisa, and another place in Parshas Kisisa. He says like this. Shem, Shabbos, Nichlal, Menucha, Bittul, Vehefsek, Mashgazim, Farshim. The word Shabbos means not working, rest. But V'efshar Lichlal Oid Boy Inyan Ha'iyun V'hachakira. Shabbos also means contemplation, investigation. Kamoi Acharei Shuvi Nichamti. The Navi says, after I contemplated, I did Shuvah. Shavti Urei Tachas Hashemesh. I contemplated and I saw under the sun. Or for example, David HaMelech says, Acha Sha'alti Meis Hashem Oisavakesh. What? Shifti Veis Hashem. What does David HaMelech want to do? He wants to sit in the house of Hashem. And do what? Like, warm the seat? Well, what David HaMelech says, God, my only request is Shifti Beveis Hashem. To sit. That's what David HaMelech, what his biggest desire in life is to sit. What he doesn't like to stand, he doesn't like to jog. What does it mean, I want to sit? The answer is, Shabbos does not mean rest. Shabbos does not mean to sit. Shabbos means thought. Like Acharei Shuvi Nichamti. When David HaMelech says, Shifti Beveis Hashem, I would like to learn and contemplate in the house of Hashem my whole life. Like the expression Yishuv Hadas. What does Yishuv Hadas mean? Not the mind is at rest. Maybe that's what we ask for. I want to go to sleep. No, Yishuv Hadas means contemplation of the mind. Acharei Shuvi Nichamti. And it comes from the root Shuv. Shuv. What does Shuv mean? Lech Vashuv. To go back and forth. Because when a person is thinking, first he sees it this way. Then he says, you know what? Maybe you could view it on a different angle. Oh, maybe you could point out this. In other words, the analytical process.
Reflect.
Correct. The process of reflection is that an idea hits you one way, and then it moves you to another idea and to another idea. Says the Haksav HaKabbalah on the 4th line, V'hayrazu eno yotzes meklal shoresh shuv. The root is shuv. Ki hameshapich. Someone who is investigating and analyzing, Pam Kain, or Pam Hefuchai, sometimes this way, sometimes that way. So he is turning away from the original thought. Harehu Shav min hamachshava rishona. He is moving from the original thought. First he had thought A, and from there it brought him to thought B. And that is the meaning of David HaMelech, Shivti beveis Hashem kol yemei chayai. Now look in the middle of the piece. The first one line is V'yiyah. V'yiyah lefizet tam Shabbos Lashem. What does the pasuk mean? It's Yom Shabbos Lashem. Yom meyuchad le'iyun v'chakira b'inyanei Hashem. It's a day to investigate and to contemplate and to analyze Torah thoughts, divine thoughts. Sheyiyachid ha'adam es yoyim hashvi lifnois deyosav. That a person should divert his mind on Shabbos, kulam bidvaram hanoigim elav yisbarach. Just to sit around the table, eating popcorn and chips. Yeah, it's beautiful to enjoy your family. Okay, but there's a gavul. That's not the main. You have the whole Sunday, you have the whole Monday, you have the whole Motzei Shabbos. Yes, it's important. But is that the purpose of Shabbos? No, that's not the purpose of Shabbos. The purpose of Shabbos is Yom Shabbos Lashem. It's a day of opportunity, of contemplation, investigation. Now we understand. When Adam HaRishon heard from Cain that Cain was able to do tshuva, what does Adam HaRishon say? Cain, you're able to do tshuva? Wow! Look how great Shabbos is! Because the whole purpose of Shabbos is reflection and tshuva and return to Hashem. In other words, when he saw that Cain was successful in doing tshuva, that inspired him to appreciate the value of Shabbos. That's why Adam HaRishon said Mizrah Shel Yom HaShabbos. Ki lefi ha'mevuar muvan mila Shabbos inyan ha'tshuva. Shabbos doesn't mean rest. Shabbos means contemplation, thought. And this is what Chazal mean. Like nitnu Shabbos Yisrael elo lasik b'hem b'Torah. Says the Ksava Kabbalah, beautiful. We know Shabbos. Someone who desecrates Shabbos, what are they over? A lois aseh and an aseh. Now the lois aseh we get. If someone drives the car on Shabbos, he violates a lav. What aseh is there of Shabbos? The aseh is lasos. How is lasos and aseh? What are you supposed to do? We always think the aseh of Shabbos is that if you violate the negative, then you obviously somehow are, in other words, it's an aseh on the negative. No, that's not what it is. The same way every aseh in the Torah is, do something, shake your lulav and esrog, put up a mezuzah, put on your tefillin. There's an aseh of Shabbos also. What's the aseh of Shabbos? Contemplation, investigation, Talmud Torah. That's the aseh of Shabbos. So it comes out that every time a person, chas v'shalom, violates Shabbos, even though he's only violating one day, he's violating two things. He's violating the Isser, the Lav, and he's violating the positive aspect of Shabbos. So says the Ksava Kabbalah, resting on Shabbos is not part and parcel refraining from malacha. It's like every other mitzvah aseh. That there's a kiyum, a proactive aseh. Not just don't do malacha. In other words, if somebody lies in bed on Shabbos the whole day, and let's say someone lies in bed. Right? Sadly, he doesn't even know what that means, right? but let's say there was somebody who would just lie in bed the whole Shabbos, not do any malacha. Did he keep Shabbos? Says the Ksava Kabbalah, he didn't do Shabbos. Look what he says. To b'shmiras lav deloy sasei kamlacha adayin loikiyim ha'asei de Shabbos Hashem im loy hidbik machshavtoi v'daitoi b'inyanim ruchaniyim loikiyim ha'mechuvim v'il Shabbos u'v'derach zeh shayich shaper loshon asiyah Shabbos. You know what it means? Lasos es Yom HaShabbos. Lasos Yom HaShabbos means open up the Sefer, go to a Shiur, devote time to not just refrain from malacha, but to positively sanctify the Shabbos. Says the Ksava Kabbalah, look a little bit, 2 lines down. Now we understand why Chazal say anyone who is Shomer Shabbos Kil Chasai, even if he served Avodah Zarah, they're moichel him, right? Even if he served Avodah like Dar Enosh, they're moichel him. Why? Because the Kiyum Aseh of Shabbos in its proper way, in other words, if somebody keeps Shabbos the way one is supposed to, by clinging to Hashem, by cleaving to Hashem, there is no higher level of Ruchnias. And by doing so, one is approaching the Madrega of Tshuva. And therefore, says the Ksava Kabbalah, he disagrees with the Baal HaAkedah. The Baal HaAkedah, Akedas Yitzchak says, you should say Yom HaMenucha Hazeh. Says Ksava Kabbalah, no, don't say Yom HaMenucha, Yom HaShabbos. Because Shabbos implies both aspects of Shabbos. Refraining from the Yisr Malacha and the positive creation of the day of Shabbos. Okay? Now the Ksava Kabbalah writes in another piece, another dimension of the word Shabbos means to return. And what are you returning to? Look at number 12. It says Ksava Kabbalah, another meaning of Shabbos is where you're returning to the way the Rebbeinu Shalom created you as chelak eloka mima'ala. In other words, you're returning to your inner self, to your true self, to the idyllic way with which Rebbeinu Shalom made a person. Halakim asa ha'adam yashar. It's a return to man's true being. Look at number 12. V'nirli oid betam shem Shabbos inyan hashava v'hachzara. It also has a connotation of return. Sheyashiv ha'adam bayal tchunas nafshay. You return to your inherent self, which is your nature to be chelak eloka mima'ala, which is basically impossible to do during the week. During the week, it's very difficult for a person to basically return to his natural self. And Shabbos affords that opportunity to restore oneself to the way the Rebbeinu Shalom made him. Okay, so Rabbi say, take a look at number 13. Right? We had a whole slew of questions. Why does it say Aches Shabbosoisai Tishmeiru? Is Shabbos 1 or is Shabbos 2? What do you mean keep Shabbosos? It's only one Shabbos at a time. Yeah? So, says the Ksava Kabbalah, the answer is the following. Shabbos has a dual meaning. Shabbos has a dual connotation. Take a look. In number 13, on the second line, Ulufi Hamavur B'Shem Shabbos Sheyesh Pishnayim B'Harayasai. Shabbos has two meanings. Number 1, not doing malacha. Number 2, contemplation. So it comes out on every Shabbos, you're keeping 2 Shabbosais. Number 1, you're not doing malacha. And number 2, you're using the time properly to reflect and to contemplate and to analyze. So now we understand why it says Aches Shabbosoisai Tishmeiru. Hashem is saying, don't just be one of those people, they come home Friday night and they sit around the table endlessly, and then what can you do by the end of the meal? They can't even move, and that's the end of it. No. You got to keep both Shabbos. The Achila, refraining from malacha, but also Shabbos, a lashon of Shifti b'veis Hashem kol yemei chayai. And therefore, that's why it says, Aches Shabbosoisai Michaleleha, those who desecrate her. Plural. Because not only is someone who doesn't do malacha desecrating the Shabbos, but just to sleep through it is also a form of profaning the sanctity of Shabbos. Says the Ksava Kabbalah, there's no stira between the Gemara and Shabbos and MBD. Why? Avada, MBD is right. Just one Shabbos and we'll all be free. All you need to do is keep one Shabbos. So why does the Gemara say if Klal Yisrael would keep 2 Shabbosos would be redeemed? It means if you would keep 2 Shabbosos in one Shabbos. Meaning, if not only Klal Yisrael would refrain from malacha, but if we would utilize the time on Shabbos properly, then we would be redeemed immediately. But it only takes one, but it's 2 in 1. 2 in 1, 2 for 1 sale.
Double header.
Right? I'm giving you a bargain. Really, you always thought you have to keep 2 Shabbos for Mashiach. No, you only have to keep 1, but you got to do it right. It's 2 in 1. The Medrash says, it's only one time. But it has to be, you keep both dimensions of Shabbos. Refraining from malacha, and also the last Yom HaShabbos. And says the Ksava Kabbalah, look at number 14.
Did Bnei Yisrael keep one Shabbos in the Midbar?
In the Midbar.
Koshesh was the problem, second Shabbos.
So he missed it, he blew it. What?
Koshesh was the second.
It means now. It means now. Klal Yisrael would now keep one Shabbos, Mashiach would come. Yeah. So Rabbi said that's the reason why it says Mechaleleha Lashain Rabim. Says Reb Tzadok HaKohen, you don't have it on the sheet. Is Shabbos the Zachar or is Shabbos in a Keva? The answer is, it's both. They're 2 parts of Shabbos. There's one element of Kedusha of Shabbos, and that element is Kavi V'Kaimi, where the Rebbeinu Shalom, every 7th day, he zaps it with Kedusha, and the Shabbos is a day of sanctity, and the Shabbos sanctifies us. So the Shabbos is the active party, the Shabbos is the Zachar, and Klal Yisrael is the beneficiary of Shabbos. But there's another dimension of Shabbos, and that is Lassos Yom Shabbos, the way we sanctify the Shabbos. And we sanctify the Shabbos through our limudim, through our Torah, through our tefillah, through our mitzvahs of Shabbos. And in that sense and in that capacity, Shabbos is the nekeva, and we are the active party. So Shabbos has two dimensions to it. It has the automatic kedusha that the Rebbeinu Shalom sanctifies the Shabbos, and that aspect is lashon zachar, kol ha'oisa v'imalacha. But Shabbos also is the recipient of the kedusha that we put into it through our limudim and through our Torah. Says the Akedas Yitzchak, you ready for this? We had a kasha. How could you say Shabbos is shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs? There's only one mitzvah that's shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs, Talmud Torah. So how could Shabbos be shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs? The answer is because if you understand what the purpose of Shabbos is, that the entire purpose of Shabbos is that it's a day with greater opportunity for spiritual seeking, for spiritual development, and the whole tachlis of Shabbos is limud Torah. So if Shabbos is used properly for limud, then it's shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs because it's a day of Torah. That's why Shabbos is shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs. By the way, this idea that Shabbos is shakol keneged kol ha-mitzvahs, the Gemara says we learn out from the Chumash. The Medrash says in in Shmois Rabbah, that it's mentioned in the Chumash, in the pasuk Ad Ona Me'antem Lishmar Mitzvoisai, and then it says Ru'u Ki Hashem Nasen Lachem Es HaShabbos. It's mentioned in the Nevi'im, it's mentioned in the Ksuvim, and we mention it in Ritzei. We say Ritzei Hashem Lachem Ritzei V'Hach Yitzei Hashem Lachem V'Mitzvoisecha U'V'Mitzvas Yom HaShvi. So that means Shabbos is shakol keneged all 613, but only in its capacity to be a yom of Torah. And we find that we mentioned earlier that the halacha, that at the time of the Shiur, mincha time, when there's a kvius in the Beis Medrash, one is not permitted to have a suda then. So the Hagois Maimoni writes, in the name of the Medrash, that Chazal tell us the two sons of Rameir were koivei Beis Medrash during that time of Shabbos, and they met with a very unfortunate ending. They met with a very untimely end. Okay, so the question is, okay, they weren't learning, but since when is the punishment so severe for Bittul Torah? And it's suggested in the Sefer Oyel Moshe that since the definition of Shabbos is limud, then it comes out that the sons of Rameir, according to their very high level, if they were making use of the time, it wasn't just that they weren't learning, it's classified as Chilul Shabbos. Their Aveira is classified as Chilul Shabbos. They're sitting around, they had a whole tish, they were eating different foods, they were making brachos, they were making bracha achroina. No. The purpose of Shabbos is to use the time for Shabbos means shifti b'veis Hashem. That's not a drush, that's the meaning of the word. That's the meaning of the word. And that's why the Ben Ish Chai writes, and we'll end with this, Ben Ish Chai writes, beautiful thing, that on Shabbos, which is Me'ein Olam Haba, one's learning on Shabbos is worth 1,000 times learning during the week. That if somebody learns a blot Gemara on Shabbos, it's the equivalent of 1,000 blot during the week. So look at number 17. We'll end with this. V'lachein b'Shabbos shu me'ein olam haba k'may shamar Chazal tzarich laharba yispai be'esek haTorah. One should try to learn more. Ki oz yatzlichu ba yoser b'binyan haruchani, because one will be more successful in accomplishing by learning on Shabbos. V'lachein kasva ha'mekubalim, and that's when the Mekubalim tell us the gadol ha'poyal hanasa me'esek haTorah. Greater is the achievement of Torah on Shabbos. 1,000 times greater than during the week. So Rabbi, I'm not here to tell you not to enjoy your Shabbos Suda. Es gesund to hate, shluf gesund to hate. But the Chidah writes that someone who's wise, yesh zaman l'chol, there's time for everything. And one has to make sure that the main purpose of Shabbos is always kept in mind, and one tries to fulfill not only an important thing of Shabbos, but the very definition of Shabbos. So we should be zoicha to fulfill both dimensions of Shabbos and thereby we should be zoicha to the Gula Shlema of Yes Glatstein. Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.